Begin by saying what a wonderful city. I am so lucky to be the mayor of a great city like San Francisco. You know, over the years, when I was city administrator, I was working with then Gavin Newsom to make sure that as a city we would always be prepared and ready for the biggest disasters. And I often use the term, and I continue using it as the mayor of this great city, that if we're ready, then the words like recovery and resiliency would be common words that we use every day, whether it's with our departments, our nonprofit organizations working in the community, or volunteers that we constantly try to recruit. And today, I want to say to you that we don't have to be waiting for big disasters on a citywide basis to happen before we use these words, that we're challenged by disasters that are just as big for small families as they face certain things. And certainly for the last 2 months, we've had 5 major fires in the city. Some of them as high as 4 alarms and 3 alarms that they've had the effect of us losing over almost 100 living units, and more importantly, interrupting, sometimes tragically, the lives of so many families in our city. These are disasters that are felt very, very seriously by those affected. And they're as big as if we were facing a major earthquake or a tsunami or other airplane crashes and disasters. Well, I'm lucky because on the ground, as I'm joined today, we have our city's fire chief that is here, and she's been working now for 10 years to make sure that our fire department is ready for all these disasters. And of course, they appear on the ground at the very first instance. Our Director of Human Services Agency and many of our city departments are here today to join me. Supervisor Scott Weiner and other members of the Board of Supervisors are here who have been working very hard with me on forecasting what we do and can do better as a city when it comes to disasters. And all of them working together with me, and now with even more members of our nonprofit social service agencies in the community, we're practicing all the time how we can do better to help our residents that are affected by these disasters. Well, I'm looking at a very, very good group of what we have termed Good Samaritans in our city. And that means a lot to me because the people that are standing here in front of you are today people that I believe have hearts of gold, and that I'm proud of their bold actions for our residents, for our neighbors, and for entire communities that needed them at a special time. And most of you know our city has experienced these fires, and unfortunately, these fires have caused a lot of damage in our city. But I look at, more importantly, is how we respond to those disasters. Because the more that we can get, that we have people from the community respond to them, the more I know that we'll be more resilient as an entire city. Now, we have departments that are professional in this, like our fire department, our police department, our Department of Emergency Management, and other departments like Human Services and Public Health and others that professionalize on an everyday basis their ability to respond and get in early and help. What we want to do more and more is also practice the ability to respond with the people power that we have in the city. And part of that people power includes the Red Cross and their volunteers like Dennis, who's here today, who assisted in the shelter and providing food immediately. And of course, our San Francisco Salvation Army in their provision of food and other basic necessities, and even utilizing their own offices to serve as the temporary shelter. After the 22nd Street fire in the Mission District, Salvation Army went above and beyond their calling by allowing a temporary shelter to be located in their facilities at Valencia Street, a place where those who were affected could find some solace in the neighborhood that they have lived for many years. I want to specifically thank the Red Cross and Salvation Army for being our partners on a constant basis. You are all first on the ground when we needed you and when the families and residents needed you the most. There is also a bevy of local businesses that need to be recognized and thanked. Perhaps too many to be named today, but there are merchants and businesses who also belong to a very tight community that went out of their way to provide food and clothing right after the fires, especially for those residents that lived in the Mission. Small businesses like Tartine Bakery and Buy Right Market, again, baking and providing food to those in the shelter that went on for weeks. It's your generous hearts that gave hope in the darkest moments to those who were affected. And in addition to these small businesses, we also had displaced families that were unable to access really basic necessities, and they had to start beginning to get to a recovery process that included the absolute necessity to place them in temporary housing. So in addition to the emergency responders, the businesses that supported food and shelter, I want to also recognize the group of property managers in the city and landlord groups who have stepped up in a very big way to house our families. You got people like Bert Palacci, who I've known for many years as the head of Park Merced, who has been there way, way before we even thought of legislation to kind of codify our Good Samaritan work. And I know that he was there with us and Scott Wiener when we first started this legislation, that he had already exhibited time and time again throughout the years his willingness to set aside some units at Park Merced to house those that were victims of fire and other disasters. In addition to Park Merced, the John Stewart Company, who's managing those units on Treasure Island, stepped up in a big way to help families that are affected by both the 22nd Street fire and the Hyde Street fire. And a relatively newcomer to the area, using the technology of his company called To Be Living, also helped residents and families from the Mission fire in housing right on Mission Street. And I know that the owner will want to talk to you about how his technology helps ease the usual tension between landlord and tenant when people are trying to find and increase their housing opportunities. Our housing partners are key to the recovery for our families. And I want to take this opportunity to encourage more property owners, more landlords to step up and follow the lead of Park Merced, John Stewart, and To Be Living, because we simply will need more cooperation, as I know we will do our best with the Board of Supervisors. And I saw London just step in. I know London, I know Supervisor Kim and Supervisor Campos and Supervisor Wiener will all join me in doing even more to prevent the fires from happening, whether it's a stronger compliance with building code or anticipation of more of the things that prevent disaster. But we'll know we'll also have to face disaster when it comes up. And so having a larger bevy of property owners would help indeed on this effort. And with the residential rent legislation, all of our landlords have that opportunity to do the right thing for our residents. I also want to say thank you to the Hotel Council, because even they stepped up and provided some hotel units. As brief as those units were available, they were able to step in and help a number of the fire victims and their families. We honor Good Samaritans that are helping our families for their long-term recovery as well. They have brought our entire city together to support those that are affected by raising resources in a very significant way. Of course, I'm talking about Zach Crockett, who's a young resident of our mission and someone who was riding home, and rather than stop and observe and take photographs and pictures like he saw so many others. He rode home and allowed that disturbing picture to penetrate his own values and immediately took bold action to set up and create a GoFundMe account to help his neighbors. Yeah. Well, this effort raised an unprecedented amount of over $120,000 for those that are affected by the fire. This is extraordinary. And I want to thank a partner that he found and that we've always known to be a good partner in many other arenas, and that is our Mission Economic Development Agency, MEDA, as we call them, that was on the ground day in and day out, has been on the ground, helping our Latino residents in the mission. MEDA worked closely with tenants affected by the 22nd Street and became Zach's fiscal agent for the GoFundMe account. So I want to say thank you to MEDA, not only for that, but you've continued the effort because I know that at the heart of not just the residents, you're also concerned about the small businesses and the many small businesses who perhaps in some occasions lost literally everything in that fire and are going to have a hard time stepping up unless they get some help. And so MEDA has recently started an online campaign to help our small businesses that were affected to allow them to recover and rebuild. And let's help them get to the 100,000 goal that has been articulated by MEDA so that the small businesses can open as quickly as possible. And today we're also honoring one more inspiring effort by an entity called Hand Up, and also Project Homeless Connect, and La Voz Latina that are all working with Supervisor Kim's office. The Hand Up campaign has started for our families that were affected by the Hyde Street fire in the Tenderloin neighborhood. And I know this campaign is still active, and I encourage everyone to support their efforts so that they can raise the necessary resources to help the low-income families that are affected by that fire. You know, I want to say this, that our city is truly a world-class city. And we also are proud to have world-class hearts that are demonstrated by these Good Samaritans standing right here. All of you exemplify our city's values at their very best, and our entire city applauds your tremendous efforts to assist for those that are most in need at the time that they need it. And so at this time, I'm going to take the privilege of asking our supervisors who are here to join me, and come on up, supervisors, to lend your voices to, I think, a heartfelt applause to each and every one of them before I begin the pin ceremony. Supervisor Wiener, Supervisor London Breed.
Thank you. Madam President asked me to speak first, so I'm not jumping in line. So, Mr. Mayor, first of all, thank you for recognizing all of these heroes. I think one of the biggest surprises when I came into office was, even though we all know as residents that there are fires that happen, until you're in the fire department or getting notice, you don't realize how many fires actually happen, and it's a lot. And my first month in office, we had a serial arsonist in my district, and enormous number of tenants who were burned out of their units, and that's when we did the Good Samaritan ordinance to try to make it easier for landlords to put people up temporarily at low rents. And I want to really acknowledge Ben Ames from the Human Services Agency, who's done extraordinary work implementing that. And it's heartbreaking. I know recently in my district at 14th and Dolores, then at 15th and Church just a few weeks ago, you see people's lives being just completely upended. And if they're lucky, they have alternative housing, they have friends that can put them up, or they're able to get another unit, but it absolutely disrupts their lives. And if they're unlucky, then in this rental market, they're just in big trouble. And so my heart sinks every time you see one of these fires happening. But knowing that this social safety net exists, not just a city social safety net, but people in this city just coming together and looking out for our neighbors, it is inspirational each and every time. And so I just want to say thank you to everyone for everything that you've done. I want to also just acknowledge the fire department. These fires, as awful as they are, they could be so much worse. And this department gets out there fast, and they put the fire out quickly, and they just do an absolutely tremendous job, and I'm continually in awe. So thank you.
Thank you, and I just wanted to make sure that I stopped by to congratulate all the folks here who are being honored for their commitment to making sure that they support their fellow neighbors. And I know that these fires have had, a devastating impact on individual lives. And in my district in particular, there were so many neighbors who stepped up to the plate. And just this recently, I was at a fundraiser. The Alamo Square Neighborhood Association organized a fundraiser and is consistently organizing fundraisers where all of the businesses chipped in to provide raffle items. I mean, that's what being a good neighbor is about. And I do appreciate the people who continue to step up, the Red Cross and others, and especially the folks who have taken advantage of this program, mostly because in some cases, many of these units are not even available on the market. And to open your doors and to give someone an opportunity to have a home, a place to call home during probably one of the most tragic times in their life is just really, truly commendable. And I would ask that other apartment owners or other individuals who have units available and open would open your doors to people who are victims in these cases, because it could happen to any one of us at any time, and it's truly appreciated when people step up to the plate to make it possible for just to help someone in need. So I just want to congratulate you all, and I want to thank you for the funds that you're starting, for all the work that you're continuing to do, and finally, of course, the fire department. We have one of the best fire departments in the country, and they continue to amaze me with their strength, with their determination, with their aggressiveness in making sure that we put these fires out in a timely manner so that they don't negatively impact more residents than they already do when they start in some of these places. So thank you all so much for being here. Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and thank you for being here.
And now I want to present on behalf of the city of San Francisco a special city insignia heart as a pin, and I hope that you will receive it with the feeling that we are in deep appreciation of your work, your commitment to the city. And then for the audience, I'd like to just say, shop locally. Do as much things locally as possible, because you'll never know somebody who's serving you, someone online who's giving you access, or a bakery could be the very hero in the neighborhood. Thank you, everyone, for being here. And I'm going to ask the supervisors to help me do this pinning, because you can't get out of the good work that we get to do. And also the chief, if you can help. And then I want to make sure I acknowledge the San Francisco Fire Commission that is here as well. I know you're helping, just making sure that we do all the right things in the city continuously. Good Samaritans, thank you very much on behalf of the City County of San Francisco. All right.